Hey, what's up, guys? Thank you for joining today. I know y'all probably wondering why I'm all suited up, looking nice and sharp. It's just because, I had a couple people ask me about interviews. And I know that interviews can be very important. Before you even start thinking about the money, you have to at least get the job. So today, I'm just gonna kind of give some interview tips. But before I get started, welcome to Let's Talk Business. All right, so first, before I'm even approached, the first thing that they're gonna look at is obviously what I'm wearing. What am I wearing? I need to wear something appropriate. Obviously, if it's a blue collar job, I'm obviously not gonna be wearing my suit and tux just because I'm not gonna be working in this. I'm never gonna be dressed anything close to this. I'm gonna have some probably some good jeans on and a nice button-up shirt. Just obviously, I'm not going to be working on my shirt either, but just to have that kind of impression. But if I'm talking about corporate America, having a white-collar job, then this is more so what I'd wear. This is my interview suit. I do wear the full blazer, tie included, everything. Just because I'd rather be overdressed than underdressed. And more often than not, I am exactly dressed how the person that is interviewing me, how they would be dressed. But that at least leaves a little impression. And even if it doesn't make any impression at all, that's better than making a bad impression. Next, the first 10 seconds is very important. First, I'd like to say that smile. You have to be like, hey, how are you? Yes, nice to meet you. Second, eye contact. Look them in the eye. Don't be afraid to look them in the eye. Smiling builds comfort. Eye contact builds confidence. So honestly, that I feel like if I were to shake your hand and it's a firm handshake and you look me in the eye while you're greeting me, hey, nice to meet you. Yes. That honestly shows that they're almost a little confident on who they are, at least in the very first 10 seconds. Now, if you're like, oh, hey, yeah, my name's Isaac. Nice to meet you. That nobody even wants to talk to you. I usually like to think of interviews as like a date. So, first, obviously, I need to make a good impression because they are looking at me just as much as I'm looking at them. So I need to smile, of course, build a little comfortability, make eye contact, just so they know that I'm talking to them and not looking at anything or distracted about anything else. All my full focus is on you. And of course, be a little bit enthusiastic on what you're talking about. Just not so laid back and bored. Just no, you gotta kind of have like not so much giddy. And of course, you want to fit it around your personality and make it your own. But personally, what has worked for me, of course, is eye contact. Hey, how you doing? Give a nice smile. Thank you. And then kind of be excited. I'm excited to be here. I am glad that you gave me the opportunity to even interview me. Now that we're past that 10-second impression, the things that I've noticed that has gotten me further in the interview process, if not has gotten me job offers, is I've noticed that we are now in an era of teamwork. They usually beat around the bush at trying to ask you questions, sometimes directly about teamwork. They may ask you questions like something like, oh, give me, if your friends were to describe you in 3 words, how would they describe you? Now, these are usually just small qualities that kind of represent yourself. And obviously, this is the easiest part of the process, just because you can take anything off the top of your mind and just talk about yourself. So be like, personally, I kind of like to think that I'm funny. A bunch of other people think that I could crack a good joke. So I'd say first off, my friends would describe me as a funny, easygoing person, but very hardworking. So the first two are usually just kind of me showing that I am very friendly, so I can get along with people very well. Even if, I'm not saying that this is always the case, but if it's, like trying to break the ice with somebody, maybe even a new client, I can probably break the ice, cracking a joke. So, and then if following that, I said I'm a hard worker. They describe me as a hard worker. Two personality traits, and then a third that is more so describing my work ethic. Whenever I'm talking about teamwork, I've noticed that a lot of the interviews that I've been in, they ask me direct questions about teamwork. It's like, oh, well, do you prefer to work in teams or do you prefer to work alone? Now, this can obviously seem like a trick question. It's like, oh, well, do you need assistance in doing your work? Do you need someone to take some of the weight off of your shoulders? Or it's also saying, do you fit into our environment? Will you accept our team that we have right now? And, how would you approach things? So personally, on myself, I kind of take both. I always usually say, well, I like a little bit of both. And this is honestly not, you don't want to do this too often, but in this case, I feel like you definitely want to. Just because you say, oh, I like a little bit of both. I definitely think I work well in teams. If anything, I'm a great team leader. That's something else I'll get into later. But let's just say, keep going. I'm a great team leader. I usually feel like I can bring together the team, and usually if it's a big project, then we can all, do crunch time and knock it out together, which is, very accomplishing and, kind of builds all of our confidence together. Now, following that, I do like to work alone just because, I do like my time alone. So I could get actually focused and lost in my work. Nothing against with my other peers, but I do appreciate my time alone whenever I do have it, just so I can get lost in my work and I'm not so much worried about if anybody else is doing their job. So those are two aspects of approaching this. And honestly, even if you feel like, one is better than the other, then say that. Oh, well, actually, personally, I like to work alone, but I have no problems working in teams. Just remind them that you're flexible. You can be any kind of puzzle piece that they want you to be, so you can fit perfectly into that spot. So flexibility is honestly something that I feel like has pushed me past everybody. Secondly, I think the confidence obviously is one thing, but cockiness is another. So it's good to show you're confident, but not to show you're arrogant. So whenever I say, there's a fine line between being confident and arrogant. If somebody says, if the interviewer says, oh yeah, so if you were to be working, more than a 40-hour week, would that be something that, would discourage you in taking this job? Obviously, be confident in saying, oh no, I've worked more than 40 hours in a week before, and I felt like I had absolutely no problem with that, so I don't see that I have a problem with it in the future. Now, if you were to say something along the lines like, 40 hours? Oh yeah, I remember when I used to be part-time. Nah, I worked, 80 hours in such and such place. You're already, stroking your own ego. So, you want to keep that limited inside the interview process. Of course, if you want to kind of reveal yourself a little bit more after you've gotten the job, all up to you. But personally, as someone that would interview someone else, just think about it as, you interviewing somebody yourself, which gets into my next point. You are not only the one getting interviewed, you are also one interviewing whoever is you're applying the job for. Whoever's even offered you the interview in the first place, you are interviewing them as well to see if you want that job. Of course, I said earlier, the first impression obviously puts me ahead, just because I at least have those few common factors that other people don't. Now that we've eliminated at least half of those, then we go into the confidence, the leadership, teamwork, everything, flexibility. That pushes me ahead. Now, the thing that separates me from the rest of the competition is questions. You have to ask questions. Show that you're curious. Show that you are actually paying attention to what they're saying. So whenever I say you're not only the one getting interviewed, but you also interview them. So don't say anything along the lines like, oh, so what are your vacation hours looking like? Oh, okay, time of leave. Do I get workers' comp if I were to get hurt? Usually these questions you kind of want to eliminate and more so focus on the job itself. So even if it was to be as simple as this, which can touch on any interview, how long did it take you to get you to the position that you're at now? And please explain the process on how you did that. This honestly, and like I said, it refers back to dating. Anyone that you date, they always think that the date went extremely well whenever they are constantly talking about themselves. So whenever you just sit back, listen, yes, yes ma'am, no ma'am, yes sir, no sir, ha ha ha, give a good laugh. You just obviously are listening and showing that you are listening and paying attention, and especially by pulling out small pinpoints, this will honestly take you so much further into the interview process. Whenever I'm saying, oh, so please explain to me, how exactly you got in the position that you're at now. You could obviously word that in many different ways. If they don't want to go into detail, ask them details. So it's okay to stroke their ego, just don't stroke your own. Be like, whoa, wow, honestly, that's so impressive. I would love to have that kind of same storyline. Of course, you don't want to be lying. You want to keep your lying to a minimum whenever you're getting interviewed. And it's not saying, you're lying the entire time, or you're saying, that you're somebody that you're not. But at the same time, you're trying to get that job. Obviously, you're trying to be yourself. But the one thing that I always tell people is try to portray the person that you look up to. Keep looking at the people that you look up to, and then try to mirror them. And eventually, you won't even be thinking about it, and it will just kind of come into action itself, and it will be natural. Whenever you act natural, that's whenever it works best. My best interviews have been off script. So whenever I am able to actually take the interviewer out of the interviewer position and actually be a person that I'm actually having a conversation with. That's the best interviews that I've had. And that's by far every single one that I've had to offer to. So just touching up a little bit on the leadership role that I was telling you guys about, this at least will show a little bit of potential. The smallest bit of potential, at least drive that you have. You want to portray confidence that you are a good leader. And then, even whenever they ask you for an example on how you were actually a good leader, or you took the leadership role, this is pretty much them trying to tell you, show me some qualities that you've shown already that you can be a leader. But following that point, you can always show small qualities. As in, I pulled them to a side and I asked them what was the problem, or I noticed that they weren't doing something directly, so I nipped it in the butt. I corrected their path before that they could even go off course. I talked to my team and blah, 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 whatever it is. I came up with a game plan that they later on followed, and it created our success by following those by step, blah, 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 blah. Now, these are all obviously examples of good leadership qualities, and that's honestly what they're trying to ask you without actually asking you directly, like, what kind of leadership qualities do you have? Bless you. Thank you. So, just to touch up on some points that, we had, that I already gone over, just to sum it all up. First, dress for the job that you're trying to get, or if not, go overdressed. It's better to be overdressed than underdressed. Secondly, it's okay to smile, have eye contact, and be excited at where you are at this point in time. That builds a great first impression. Thirdly, be flexible. Show them that you can be just more than that one position that they're asking you to be in. Thirdly, show potential and leadership. That honestly separates you from everyone else. Everyone. And lastly, remember to be yourself, or at least if you're not comfortable in being yourself, be the person that you look up to. And whenever in doing so, try to get the person that is interviewing you out of the interviewer seat and just have a general conversation with them. I know that usually in the interview process, the best thing to do is to actually stand out And you don't want to stand out in a bad way, but you just kind of want to stand out in a way that they actually genuinely like you and remember the conversation. So the best way for them to remember the conversation is to have a different conversation that they have already had with the other 22 people applying for the job. So if you are able to get them out of that interviewer seat, that's honestly, it shows that they are already comfortable with you. It shows that they already have some kind of trust with you. And then it builds some kind of relationship. Honestly, those tips right there, I think, will definitely get everyone further into the interview process. It's worked for me. I'm sure it'll work for everyone else. So without further ado, I hope y'all have a great one. Peace.